You know what? Jean had it right. Just stay indoors today.
Yeah, great idea. And Todd, beautiful video, by the way, but you can see it almost looks like a blizzard, doesn't it? We do have fast watches and warnings in place. This issued by Environment Canada. Right now we have very strong westerlies. So these squalls are extending as far east as Quebec, which we do get, but it's not that typical. We do have snow squall watches in place. And that means that the winds, they're going to be shifting to a northwesterly wind for tomorrow. So you're going to be the recipient in southwestern Ontario of those squalls tomorrow. Meanwhile, it is super gusty along Lake Erie. Port Colborne recorded a gust of 100 earlier today around the dinner hour. Meanwhile, how much snow will we be picking up? Well, greater amounts obviously along the lakes, but it's more about those winds that are going to be kicking up the snow. So reducing visibility yet again for you tomorrow and through tonight, really. More snow is on the way for you in the Atlantic, believe it or not. Not huge amounts, but it's also going to be gusty. You're going to be the recipient of this active weather in Newfoundland through the overnight, and then the maritime provinces with a cold front, some light flurries again tomorrow. Speaking of cold front, a lot of these cold fronts that we are seeing, especially in the west, that's going to be ushering Arctic air yet again. We are talking about super frigid air funneling down to southern Ontario, -12s, -20s for the next week. Meanwhile, it was so nice and mild yesterday in Calgary, and Deb Matejachka, she was in Sunshine Village earlier today. Thank you. All right, and of course we have more on your active weather coming up, but stick around because we've got your top 5 coldest countries in the world. Did we make the list? Have a look. Go to the weather now. Indeed, not a beach day for sure. Not a good day for the roads, as you had mentioned. Kasia Bodurka with you here alongside Mike Arsenault. Here we have those snow squalls on radar extending as far east as Cornwall, as far east actually as the mouth of the St. Lawrence. So now we've got the city of Ottawa under our snow squall warning, which we will show you in just one moment.
And it's very cold up north, northern Quebec, northern Ontario, northern Manitoba. Wind chill values -40 and colder.
That's right. So we mentioned those snow squalls, the warnings, and they're extending far more east than we typically see actually with these squalls. And then the winds are going to be shifting through the overnight. So tomorrow, London, Exeter, Sarnia, you're going to be the recipient of those squalls tomorrow.
How much snow? 5 to 15 centimeters generally for the shores of Lake Huron, Georgian Bay. More trace amounts, though, as we take a look at the GTA and then eastern Ontario, 2 to 5 centimeters. But let's slide east to Baytown, Newfoundland. So we do have more snow on the way for Atlantic Canada, but let's revisit what we saw this weekend, Saturday through this morning. A general, well, some areas just saw a centimeter, but then Halifax, 24 centimeters, almost a foot in Sydney.
Yeah, it was quite intense, and now we do have more snow on the way. We're seeing it on radar as well. And then with the cold front tomorrow, some few flurries as well across the maritime provinces.
Zero.
True, and actually there's so many areas that are facing really intense snow squalls through tonight, through the overnight, and into tomorrow as well. So have a look at these warnings. Warnings means it's happening now. Those are places shaded in blue. This is a watch, though, in southwestern Ontario because the winds are going to be shifting from a westerly to a northwesterly direction, so you're going to be the recipient of those squalls tomorrow. Meanwhile, wind warnings in effect. Why? Well, it's been super gusty. Have a look at some of these peak wind gusts clocked earlier at some of our weather stations. In fact, around the dinner hour, we clocked, or we had recorded a peak wind gust in Port Colborne, 100 kilometers per hour. So it's been pretty gusty. And, you know, that in addition to the snow that's been coming down, it's been pretty bad out there on the roads. In the meantime, we have some really cold air funneling down as far south as southern Ontario, even south of the border. You can see that where you're seeing the purples, we're talking about temperatures -12, -20s, and on top of that, you've got that really frigid wind chill value, making it feel much colder than that. All right, but in the meantime, Alberta, BC, you are protected by the jet stream. You are protected by a beautiful Pacific air mass. Yesterday, it was 12 degrees in Calgary, and then other places were just breaking records. Sundre was 16 degrees yesterday. In the meantime, earlier today, we had Deb Matejachka. And right now, we're asking the question, how cold does it get on this planet? That answer is coming. Go to the Weather Network earlier today, and it felt so cold today across southern Ontario compared to what we have been seeing earlier this week.
That's right. Not the best driving conditions either, and it's just going to get colder. As we take a look at the current radar, we can see that lake effect snow. It's pushing all the way into eastern Ontario, Kasia, Cornwall, and Ottawa, getting some of those lake effect snow bands.
That's right, and that's why Ottawa is a part of this snowfall warning that we do have in effect. It has been extended, so you can only imagine Again, these winds coming off Georgian Bay, extending these squalls that far. So it's pretty intense. Also, we continue to have the snowfall warning and then a snow squall watch. That means places like London, Sarnia, Exeter, you're going to have the snow squalls for tomorrow.
Now, how much snow are you expecting? A general 5 to 15 centimeters right along the shores of Lake Huron and Georgian Bay. So it's not the snow that's the big issue here, Kasia. It is, of course, those winds making driving conditions very difficult.
That's right. And we are seeing snowfall yet again in the east, believe it or not. So along a cold front that's going to be slicing through the maritime provinces tomorrow, we're going to be picking up a few flurries yet again, but the bulk of the active weather happening in Newfoundland through the overnight. Here's
your top 5 coldest countries on Earth.
It looks like it's not only this dog that's enjoying the above seasonal temperatures. Love that video, by the way. You're saying that as well in the Twitterverse. So these are some of the hashtags that we have going on today. Awesome weather. This was tweeted by Chris at Runner. Shirtless sunset run in January. Hashtag awesome weather. So that's the west, but pushing into Ontario, it's all about the ON storm. So this was tweeted by the Minto Fire Department. Roads are snow covered and slippery in areas. Be cautious while driving out their ON storm. ATL storm also is being talked about on Twitter. That's right. Shelley Morse is talking about the treacherous driving conditions, and we've got more on that coming up.
Closed captioning of this program